Okay, guys, well, welcome back, and we are at one of our Survive and Thrive talks with the amazing Dave Geada from BoldBrush and FASO. Dave, welcome to the show today.
Hey, Graham, thank you so much for having me back again. I enjoyed the last session we did, and I'm looking forward to this one.
That's wonderful, bud. Well, your extensive knowledge, I mean, this is the best part about it, is that your business is a real one-stop shop for people that want to sell their work. I mean, the bottom line is that that's what you guys do. But you also give out this fantastic information on the do's and the don'ts for artists in their careers as well. And I wanted to discuss some of the points as we go through, but how do we better care for our customers before they've bought and after they've bought? What do we do?
Sure. And let me begin by saying that this is such an important topic, and usually one of those areas that artists really don't focus on to the extent that they should, and to their detriment. And a way of kind of expressing this or demonstrating it is that you might be surprised, maybe not you, Graham, but there may be a lot of people in your audience that may be surprised to hear that there are some very, very, very successful artists, artists making six-figure plus salaries a year off of a collector list that's only 20 people long.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Pretty amazing, isn't it? And very counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Part of the reason for that is that we live in a culture, as I mentioned earlier, of consumerism, right? Of retail. Mm-hmm. And everything we've learned about how to use the internet and how to interact with our customers comes from that world of retail, right? That's why, if you've ever been mired in all this conflicting marketing advice about how to market yourself online, where, you hear things like, you should be on social media 7 days a week and posting 20 times a day on every social media platform in the universe so that you can generate thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers in the hopes that 2% of those people may buy from you.
Yeah.
Right? That's the way that a retailer thinks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a quantity game. Yeah. They're playing what most business people would refer to as a volume game. Yeah. Right? They have to attract a ton of people in the hopes that a very small minority are going to buy from them, and then over time that a percentage of those people will continue to buy from them, and that's their business model. And art really doesn't work that way. The most successful artists that I see are the ones that do the exact opposite. They don't focus on quantity; they focus on quality, making sure that, for example, that the people that they add to their newsletter list. Right, and all the successful artists I know have a newsletter that they put out, but making sure before they put somebody on the list that it's actually somebody who's really into them and their art, and not adding people just for the sake of a number. And doing the same on social media, connecting with people on social media based on how interested they think those people are. Now, notice I used the word people here. I didn't say collector, right? I didn't say gallery owner. I said people, because you never know where a sale is going to come from. Yeah. What's consistent is that the people that they engage, whether they identify them as collectors or fellow artists or just people that they meet who seem to be into them and their art, that's the glue that holds those folks together. That makes them, quality is how into you and your art they are. Doesn't matter what they're doing. Doesn't matter whether they bought from you yet or not. Okay? And so what you do is you amass an audience of those people, and then over time, you treat them a little bit differently, right? And that's where the magic in customer service happens. Okay, because anybody can take their customers, air quotes here, and it's really easy to treat them all the same. Yeah. But if you take them in with intention to look at your audience, to look at the people that are following you on social media, who are subscribing to you, and then ask yourself a set of questions, starting with, of all these people, who are the people on this list of mine that have bought from me in the past? And most importantly, maybe bought multiple times from me. And you're going to take those people and put them in a bucket. Then the next question you're going to ask yourself is, who are the people on this list who haven't bought from me yet, but are giving me every sign that they're going to buy, because they're still engaging with me. They're still talking with me. They're still excited about wanting to be here with me. Oh. And then you're going to put those people in a bucket. And then everybody else goes in the third bucket. And then you treat each of the folks in each of those buckets. We, as marketers, we call those segments, right? We're going to treat each of those segments of our audience differently. And here's what I mean. Let's start with the cream of the crop, the people that have bought from you in the past. Okay? One thing that you should be doing on a regular basis with those folks is reaching out to them. And by reaching out, I mean sending them a personal email or picking up the phone and calling them, however they feel most comfortable interacting with you, and wishing them a happy birthday when it's their birthday.
Yeah, definitely.
Wishing them a happy holidays. Checking in for no reason, and not to sell them anything, but to see how they're doing and to make sure they're still okay.
A good point. Absolutely.
Right. And when you do have art to sell, you're going to treat them better than everybody else by giving them access to it first. Yeah. And there's a variety of ways that we help artists do this on our platform, FASO. One of the ways that we do that is through feature private collections. So our tool, as an artist on our platform, you can create a collection, mark it as private, where you put all of the art that you want to make available to the special group of collectors in your base. And then when you do that, we provide you with a special link. Now, that collection will not show anywhere on your website. So if someone hits your website and they're not part of that group, they'll never see that collection and the artwork in it. But when you send that link to anybody in that group of your top collectors, they can click on the link and they can see that artwork and they can buy. And so one of the ways you can make them feel special is by giving them early access. Yeah. Another great way of doing that, and you'll bear me out here, Graeme, I'm sure you're probably living this today, but I'm sure if I was walking around in your home right now, I'd find all sorts of sketches and studies and things that you've never sold, maybe don't have any intention of selling. They're part of your process, and they're just taking up room in your studio. Imagine if on that collector's birthday, you sent them a sketch or a study with a handwritten note that said, "Was thinking of you on your birthday, and I thought you might enjoy the study or the sketch. Happy birthday."
Yeah, good points. Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, it's that you want to take that audience and make them feel special by, taking what's essentially just stuff that you're tripping over in your studio, right? Not that it doesn't have any value, but certainly not anything that you're looking to sell right away, and turning that into a way of making them feel special and more connected to your story as an artist. And some wonderful, amazing things happen when you do that. But again, it has to be done in a genuine way, right? So this is not about saying, here's a study, come buy a painting from me. Right? No, it's about keeping the conversation going. And when you do that in those ways, what's going to happen over time are those collectors, because here's a fundamental truth about any type of sales. Doesn't matter if it's art, doesn't matter if it's yachts, cars, toasters, loaves of bread, whatever you sell, it is always easier to sell to somebody who's already bought from you than it is to go to find someone new to buy from you. Right? And so what you're really doing is rewarding those people for buying from you, but also doing it in ways that demonstrate value and don't devalue you as an artist and you, in your art. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, they'll say, "Well, Dave, I want to make my customers feel special. So I'm thinking about, giving them a percentage discount on their next purchase if they buy from me." And I always say the same thing. Don't do that. That's what Amazon does, right? That's what Walmart does. You don't ever want your collectors to feel like the art that they're buying from you, right, can be devalued in that way. So rather than discounting a piece that you want them to buy, take something like a sketch or a study and offer that up to them as a gift at no charge. Now, if you still feel like there's some monetary incentive you want to give your best collectors, another great way of doing that without devaluing your art is to offer free shipping. But of course, that requires you to put some thought into your pricing, which you should be doing anyway. You should be giving thought to your pricing and pricing your art, not only based on what the market will bear and your skill level as an artist and your track record, frankly, as an artist, but also bearing in mind that you're going to be selling your art through different channels. Some of it you're going to be selling directly, some of it you're going to be having through a gallery, and sometimes with your very best collectors, you're also going to be offering them things like free shipping. And so the trick is to price all of that so that you don't have what's called channel conflict. And channel conflict is when you're selling the exact same thing in 3 different places, and one of those places has a price advantage or disadvantage compared to the other places that you sell. Because when you do that, a few things happen. When the customers that buy through those other channels, when they find out that it's cheaper to buy through that third channel, it builds resentment. Now, that second group of people that we talked about were the folks who you weren't sure whether they were collectors or not, but were really into you, right? And we're giving you every indication that they might buy. That's that second tier. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to treat them a little bit differently than everybody else, but not quite as good as those collectors, right? So those first set of collectors, you should always give them first crack. Okay. Now, with that second tier of folks, you're not going to, for example, give them a sketch or a study on their birthday, because frankly, that would feel a little weird to them, right? Because they haven't bought from you yet. And so if you come on too strong, it's going to turn them off. But instead, the way you make them feel special is first by recognizing them on those events. So send them a handwritten note saying happy birthday, or and you should check in with them and see how they're doing, just like you do the other collectors. And once that first set of collectors has had a chance to buy your art, they're the next ones in line. And you do what you did with that first set with them. You create a private collection just for them. You send them a private link if you're on the FASO platform, and then you give them an opportunity to purchase your art. And again, you're making them feel special. Okay. And then that third tier that we talked about, that's the one that you primarily you're focusing on reaching them through your newsletter, and making sure that they are aware that you have art available after those other 2 groups have seen it. Okay. And that other group, you might not ever say happy birthday to. Okay. But you might call them every now and then to check in and see how they're doing and what they're up to. Okay. And so by structuring it that way and tiering it, and look, you don't have to follow those exact same parameters, but that's generally a good outline, and one that's historically proven to work. When you engage with someone in your audience, whether in person or online through email or through a phone call, 99% of the time, they're not ready to buy. And so if you make it about buying, right, you're going to push them away. You're going to irritate them. But if you don't reach out to them at all, they're going to quickly forget who you are. And then when it does come time for them to buy, they are going to buy, just not from you. Right. So it's about this balancing act, right, of staying engaged, keeping them engaged. And there's no better way of doing that than through storytelling and sharing your journey with them. And every now and then sprinkling in the fact that you have some art to sell. Right. One of the things we talk about in our art marketing playbook, AMP, our playbook is based on these patterns of what successful artists have actually done. Right. And then we took it a step further. We said, okay, I'm just not going to listen to what those artists told me. I'm going to take these practices. And for the last 4 years, I've been working with artists individually on different elements of this playbook to see if it would actually work. And what surprised the heck out of me was that, I had so many artists who, when I started working with them in this way, one-on-one, and bear in mind, they're doing the work. I'm just guiding them along, explaining the process, what they should be doing, giving them a little bit of coaching, but they're the ones actually doing the marketing and selling. How many artists we took from 0 sales, right? Where they were maybe dependent on a gallery, or their gallery had shut down and they had no sales to speak of, to making more money on a consistent basis than they were through their gallery channels.
There you go.
Okay? And we're talking about people here who aren't technical. They're not marketers. They're artists just like everyone in your audience. There's nothing special about them other than they followed what I told them to do. And along the way, they became creative about it in their own way, in terms of the story that they told and various aspects, right? Because that's the thing about our program, this playbook, is that's not one size fits all. I've seen it time and time again. As a matter of fact, there's an artist in our base, one of our members by the name of Gloria Hunt, if you want to look her up. She's an awesome artist, awesome person. She's just got this very nice bubbly personality that I love. I love chatting with her. And she joined us back in February. And when she did, one of the first things she did is she put out a newsletter, and she got a horrible response. Nobody opened it, basically. And so she was going to give up, but then she started reading AMP, and we talked there about, one of the important parts of your, 20% that generate 80% of the results is putting out a newsletter on a consistent basis. And when you're doing that in a certain way by telling your story, which she realized she really hadn't been doing. And so rather than giving up, through our webinars and our playbook, she got excited and kept doing it. And that next month, she sent me a note saying how glad she was that she did, how appreciative she was of us sharing all this with her, because she started following the advice in terms of how to write her newsletter, and she sold 2 pieces.
Beautiful.
And then the next month, I got another email from her where she said, "You're not going to believe this. I sent my newsletter out again. I sold 3 pieces."
That's great.
And it kept going every month. She sent me a note just 2 days ago saying, You're not going to believe this. It's still happening, right? And all that to say that, there's a method behind this, right? And to this madness, and an area that artists should be focused on, and a lot of them aren't.
It's great that we can talk about this. I mean, I want to go on and have these conversations more and more as we go along, so that the people that we have in our system can get to know you and know your business and know you as the CMO of the company. But you're there to help. I mean, you really have taken on a mission to help people out, which I think is fantastic. I mean, that's the greatest reward you can have in your life.
Yeah. I tell you, so ahead of this call today, I actually had 3 or 4 calls scheduled with artists in our base who were struggling with AMP or some aspect of this art marketing playbook, AMP, that we talked to them about. And those are some of my most favorite moments in my job, is when I'm talking one-on-one with an artist and kind of guiding them through all this. And my favorite moment within that favorite moment is that moment when the light bulb goes on in their head and they go, "Okay, I got it. I understand now." And everything else that happens afterwards is just, icing on the cake. So the emails that I get where they're saying, "Thank you, this worked, this is successful." That's all the validation, but it's that moment of insight when people become empowered, when they go, "Wow, I can do this." Right?
But Dave, it's been fantastic. Your information is just overwhelming. You are a very infectious human being. There's no 2 ways to put it. And I say that with the nicest ways that you can be infected. So.
I was about to say, when someone says that to you these days, you have to kind of do a double take.
But thank you so much, Bud, for spending the time with us, and we will do this again. And thanks to everybody. If you want to come in and see all this information, you can go to us at colouryourlife.com.au. Or Dave, what are some of the websites that can come in and visit you guys at as well?
Yeah, if you'd like to check out our art marketing platform, FASO, you can just go to faso.com, FASO.com. And if you'd like to learn a little more about the company behind it and some of the other things we do, like we have a free monthly online juried art exhibition that anybody can join, whether you're a member or not, and other wonderful things that we do. You can visit us at boldbrush.com.
Yeah, and there's some great information in there with some fantastic tools to utilize to help sell your work. But thank you so much, Dave. We really appreciate your time.
You're welcome, Graeme. Thank you for having me.